In this video, you will see a nurse by the name of William George Davis. William was recently sentenced to death in 2021 for killing 4 patients at the hospital he worked at. In this particular video, William is seen going into one of his patients' rooms, and then after some time, he leaves the room. 3 minutes after exiting the room, the alarm goes off for the patient, and he casually walks back to the room without telling anyone he was the last one to enter. William George Davis was born on February 3, 1984. He graduated high school, got his undergraduate degree, and eventually received his master's degree. William was married and had a successful career working as a nurse. He got a job working at the Christus Good Shepherd Medical Center in Longview, Texas in 2011. It is unknown if he was fired or quit, but he stopped working at that job in 2013. That same year, though, he got a new job working as a nurse for Christus Trinity Mother Frances Louise and Peaches Owen Hart Hospital in Tyler, Texas. On February 15, 2018, William was fired from that hospital. Hospital officials shared their concerns with police about William after 4 of their patients had died and 5 others had been victims of foul play. Doctors began studying patients who took a turn for the worse, and they noticed something similar. Each patient, ages 43 to 67, was given a CT scan, and doctors noticed that each patient had air in their brains. They also went through security footage and saw that William was in each of these patients' rooms before complications started. A month after doctors reported William, in April of 2018, he was arrested. While being held in jail, William had a phone conversation with his wife, and the call was recorded. On this recorded call, William told his then-wife that he did inject the patients with air, but not because he wanted to kill them. He said that his intentions were to hurt them so he could take care of them a bit longer. Taking care of them longer would mean overtime for him and more money. He did not care that the patient's health was worse after surgery or that he killed patients. Money was more important. He ended the call with his wife by saying, "I'm not a malicious guy or a serial monster. It was an impulsive decision. I'm sorry." When trial began, he was charged with 4 counts of murder. The 4 people he killed were John Lafferty, Ronald Clark, Christopher Greenaway, and Joseph Kalina. John, Ronald, and Christopher were killed in 2017, and Joseph was harmed in 2018, but succumbed to William's fatal actions in 2020. Along with being charged for murder, William was also charged with 4 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. The victims for these charges were Pamela Henderson, Ricky Glenn, James Wages, and Gary Parker. William pled not guilty to all charges. Surviving victim Gary Parker lived in Louisiana, but traveled to Texas for heart surgery. He testified that he remembers signing papers before the surgery, but remembers nothing after. It wasn't until a week after the surgery that he said he was conscious. He was quoted saying, "It felt like I was under some kind of drug. I was hallucinating bad." A nurse by the name of Michelle Cazares said that she looked after Gary during her night shift, and there was no evidence that he would have had an unexpected neurological event.
Probably a week or so after the surgery, but it was it was like I was still under some kind of drugs or something. I mean, I was hallucinating bad.
Dr. Christopher Lowe, the anesthesiologist who performed anesthesia on Gary before his heart bypass surgery in July of 2017, said that during the surgery, there were no periods of significant hypertension that would result in a stroke. James Wages, who lived his life as a world champion Elvis Presley impersonator, went to the same hospital for surgery. After his successful surgery, he was in a coma unexpectedly for 1 whole month. James was quoted saying, "I didn't even know what happened to me. I just woke up in a different world." Doctors testified that when he woke up from his coma, he was able to squeeze his hands, move his legs, and speak a bit, but the attack left him with severe brain damage that paralyzed one side of his body. He is unable to read, has distorted vision, and is bound to a wheelchair. Victim Ricky Glenn worked as a welder, and after his successful heart surgery, he was also attacked by William. Ricky said that he was worried he would never be able to walk again. He is not bound to a wheelchair, but he has to use a walker to get around, has issues with his vision, and also has a hard time grabbing things. Dr. Benjamin Krog testified because he was James and Ricky's anesthesiologist. He said that they were both in good shape even though they were heart patients.
I was worried I'd never walk again. But through rehab and hard work, I overcome some of that.
William's defense attorneys claimed that William was the true victim because he was being blamed for all of the deaths just because he was there when the deaths occurred. The jury believed all of the evidence stacked against William and all of the victims who took to the stand, and on October 19th, 2021, a Smith County jury convicted him of capital murder. No one knew if William would be sentenced to life or death, but both were on the table. During the penalty phase, prosecutors played the recording between William and his ex-wife while he was being held in jail. Jury members were able to hear William admit to injecting patients with air to make them sicker.
You understand the calls, the person's in jail.
During summertime of 17, that summer, they didn't have a lot of, they were calling me off the line. They called me off the line. We had a lot of finances, and of course, some of that's my fault. I'm blaming myself for that. My intentions were not to ever hurt anybody in a way that was, it wasn't any way to try to, I wasn't trying to kill anybody or take anybody out. Nothing like that whatsoever. It's just kind of more of a patients when they go from ICU status to IMC status, they change over and they change staffing. You know how the hospital staffing, they were a little bad about calling people off, trying to watch short, trying to stay on overtime. They want to, and I was trying to work every day I could. And I didn't want to be called off. And I was honestly, I had no intention on hurting anybody, like seriously hurting anybody, but I accidentally did in my actions. Because I was trying to keep the ICU people ICU a little bit longer than status. I know it may sound crazy, and coming from a medical person, it doesn't sound the same, but coming from somebody who's not medical, it may sound really crazy and messed up, and I'm sorry, I really am. And I'm not like that, I'm a malicious guy, I'm not a malicious man. I just need to work. I couldn't afford to be off. I couldn't afford to call off, and I made sure that people stayed ICU. I tried to make sure people stayed ICU a little bit longer, just a little bit longer, so that our numbers would work out, so that we could take it, so I could work. I want you to know that Queen was an accident. Queen was not on purpose or nothing like that. No.
And I know that you love God. I know
I do. I love people.
But your whole mindset in all of this is the most evil. It is the opposite of what God would ever want you to do.
Or the tubing is transparent. You can see that it's fluid filled, and I attached it myself once the arterial catheter was placed.
That evidence was all the jury needed, and they agreed with prosecution when they rejected the claim that all of the deaths were accidental. On October 27, 2021, after 2 hours of deliberation, William was sentenced to death. Although he was only charged with 4 counts of murder and 4 counts of aggravated assault, many believed he was truly responsible for killing 6 people and having at least a total of 11 victims. Thank you all for watching another episode of Death Row Executions. Let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments below.